Okay. So it's good. It's all good, right? Yeah.
Okay. All good.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay. Were you with us last week, Les? I'm just trying to remember.
No, last week I was at a chasana.
Great. Okay. So then what I'll do, I'll just rerun that Mishnah because then it's a good point of departure, especially if you're recording. Okay. So, gentlemen, we're starting from the Mishnah again and off we go. Do you remember the Mishnah that we started as we were concluding the Shiur last week? Ephraim, you got the place. It's Avodah Zarah, Nun Dalad Amud Beis, 54b. Nice, interesting piece. Shalu es haskenim beroimi. We got it.
Yeah.
They asked the elders in Rome. Some people in Rome asked the sages, Im ein retzone ba'avodah zarah. If God does not will, you'll probably remember the first few lines because we did do it just after we finished the other Gemora. Im ein retzone ba'avodah zarah. If God does not have the will, if He doesn't want avodah zarah, idolatrous worship, foreign deities in His world, lama einoi mavakla. Why doesn't He just simply eliminate them? If you are the strong God that you are, so then take away the avodah zarah. Amru lahen. So the sages answered these Roman philosophers, Ilu ladavar she'in seirech la'olam bai. If you're talking about them serving something that the world doesn't require, so if you're talking about them serving idols of stone or clay, are you ovdin, if that's what they're serving, things that me and you can survive without, you would, yeah, then you'd be right. He would eliminate them. The problem is, but they serve the sun and the moon. They turn some of the natural phenomena of the world, the sun and the moon, the stars and the constellations. So what should God do? Destroy integral parts of His world? It's a rhetorical question. Should God be coerced to destroy His world because of fools that turn things in the world into idolatry, into avodah zarah? How can He do that? So the answer that they said, Amru Lohen, they said to the sages, if you're telling me that God doesn't eliminate His competition, the avodah zarah, because it's things that the world needs, what about when they serve things that the world doesn't need? Im kain, if so, if that's the reason, He should destroy the deities which the world does not need. And He should give immunity or leave alone the things that the world needs. So if they serve the sun, the moon, or the stars, leave that alone. But if they serve other things that we can do without, like stones and statues, or anything that we could replace in another place, then that God should destroy. Amru lahen, so the sages said to them, that wouldn't work. You know why that wouldn't work? Because then, afanu machazikin yadayav dayan shalaylu. We, the good side, the godly side, would be strengthened in the hand of these wrongdoers, because the wrongdoers would say that the reason why our avodah zarah survived is because it has substance. She'oimrim, because they would say, Teidu shehein Elohos, you should see, the sun, the moon, the mountain that I worship is really a God. Look, God was running around destroying His competition, and He destroyed all the things that He was able to, and He didn't destroy the things that He couldn't destroy, because they have power. They were not eliminated. So in other words, if God created a system whereby He eliminates what is not necessary, but leaves behind what is, then the people who serve the things that are necessary for the world to exist will decide that those things have a certain divine power. And it's because of that divine power that they were unable to be destroyed. Therefore, what does God do? He doesn't destroy any of the avodah zarah. He doesn't interfere in an obvious, direct way. That's the Mishnah. The Gemora quotes a brisa, which is almost the same as the Mishnah. So we'll read it with a bit of pace, because it's almost the same. not exactly the same. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Shalu Philosophines Haskainim Beraimi. The philosophers asked the elder sages of the Jewish people in Rome, the lingo, the style of the language is slightly different, but the concept is the same. If your God doesn't like Avodah Zarah, I'm not going to have it. If your God doesn't like Avodah Zarah, why does he not eliminate it? Amru lahem, they answered them, if they were only serving things for which the world has no use, God would be able to eliminate, destroy, take away that which they serve. But they actually are serving things that are vital to the world's existence. The world can't exist without the sun. The world can't exist without the moon. They serve the sun, the moon, the stars and the constellations. This Bryce says, same pattern as the Mishnah. Should God destroy his world because of fools? But here you have an additional piece that we didn't have higher up in the Mishnah. The system is, and the Gemora wants to unpack what the system is means. There is an orderly natural system, and the system is the world goes according to its minhag. Another word for minhag, it's like a driver or a system or a course. The world follows its course. V'shaitim shekilkelu, and the fools and wrongdoers that do wrong, they are the ones that in the end face justice. They face the din, they face the justice. What does that mean? That Hashem doesn't save them by stopping what they're doing wrong. He allows the course of action to take place, and then they take responsibility for their course of action. And the Gemora says we see this in a few other cases, and it actually gives some more examples. Dover Acher, another example. Imagine a person goes and steals one seah of wheat, and he goes and he sows it in the ground, in the fields. God does not allow theft. Torah says that you're not allowed to steal, but this person, against Hashem's will, goes and steals. Now he takes the very wheat or seeds of wheat that he's stolen and he plants it. What causes plants to grow? Hashem's miracle, the miracle of nature. So you might say, Din shaloi titzmach. I imagine it shouldn't grow. If God himself is in charge of the world, and God doesn't like theft, then the seeds of a thief should not be allowed to germinate successfully. But that's not what happens. It grows. God lets the world run its course. And that wrongdoer, or those fools that do what they're not supposed to do, they have to take the justice upon themselves. People are responsible for what they do. You know, every time there's a shooting, and I'm not going into a long debate about it because it's a very sensitive topic in the world, especially in America. So the first thing is outlaw guns. The truth of the matter is guns don't shoot people. People shoot people. You know, you're going to take away cars because some people some thugs or monsters ram or hurt other people with a car. Some people hurt other people with an airplane by flying it into the wrong thing, using it as a weapon. Yeah. So at the end of the day, God runs his world according to its course. He does the same thing. He says, if you're going to use things the wrong way, I have a judgment system. But am I going to interfere with the natural order of the world just because I can? Am I going to stop you from allowing your stolen wheat to grow? No, the world has its course.
Like if somebody drives on Shabbos, Hashem could make the car stop.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Another example says the Gemora continues, Dover Acher, another example. A person gets involved in an adulterous relationship. He goes and he has relations with a married woman, and she's fertile. You would imagine that God should stop her from falling pregnant. He doesn't want such a relationship. He says in his Torah, it's one of the relationships that's outlawed. But what happens? She does fall pregnant, and she gives birth to this illegitimate child. You can see the pattern of the Gemara. The world goes according to its course. It follows its course. And those that think they're clever because they have done wrong, they face justice. The book is thrown at them. Hashem allows the world to run and then throws the book at those who do what they're not supposed to do.
Judged by actions.
Yeah. Behind the Omer Resh Lakish, and this is actually outlined in a very beautiful metaphor. This is based on what Resh Lakish said. The Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, says, Lo dayon lo rishayim, not enough that the wicked she'oisin sela sheli pumbi, that they make my dye for a seller coin into something that is ownerless. That means they handle it lightly. You know, when you mint a coin, you've got a die. In a mint, they've made a die, and the die is to be used to mint a coin. But that seal is a valuable thing. Any country, any place, in the old days, a kingdom would guard it. Because if the wrong person gets hold of it, he can start making fake money. He can start printing money. He can do what the kingdom does. So Hashem, so to speak, says that when a person goes along, for instance, and has an illegitimate relationship causing a pregnancy that's not sanctioned according to the laws, the Torah laws of morality. So Hashem says an interesting thing. Not only is he stealing my dye, which is a metaphor for, in other words, he's using my system, conception, the intimacy that leads to conception, that leads to the gestation of a human being. It's all my dye. I made that. I made the whole system. Not only is this person taking that away from me, but I have to stand there and sign off and back the whole system. I literally have to fuel and support in order that there should be. In other words, what we've got here is a fundamental concept. In order that there should be Bechira Chavshis, free choice in the world, God has to allow the world to run. If the moment a person eats something non-kosher, he has a little bit of chaza, immediately he's going to pop off or whatever, because the enzymes in the chaza will be turned on, just eaten by a Jew, like some game, it's over. Nobody will eat it. There'll be no Bechira Chavshis. In order that the system of the world should be the choice of man, of you and I, the world has to run according to its course. And who's got to run the world according to its course? Hashem himself. We say it in our davening every day. God renews the Maaseh Bereshis, the creation, all the time. It's energized continually by him. He even has to energize those who are literally stealing his own dye to print and copy and do exactly what he doesn't want them to do. So that's why Resh Lakish said, that they're taking my dye that I used to make my coins and turning it into a free thing that you can take into the street mint coins. But it's more than that. They're not just making humans. They bother me, and they make me sign off against my will. I, God, have to stand there and cause miraculously that birth to take place according to my human birthing system. Because if I don't, I will be stopping my world from running in its normal course, and that will be fiddling around with the Bechira Chavshis, the free choice of man. So you see the thread of this Gemara, that Hashem has to somehow allow the world to run its course. Sha'al philosophus echad is Rabban Gamliel. A particular philosopher came to Rabban Gamliel with a question. And the commentaries on this Gemara actually say that in the time of the Romans over there, the Greeks, there was a lot of study going on. They were trying to figure things out, spiritual things, philosophic things. And there was a lot of paganism in the world. People served idolatry. But there were also people that weren't completely comfortable with the way that the world was serving. But at the same time, they had questions.
People expect
that
if somebody does something wrong, you will pay them. And the most of the do they see if somebody does something wrong and nothing happens to him, I know that what mentioned said.
Yeah,
We sacrifice our life
yeah,
and
yeah.
for that what brings to the all
And we don't see it clearly. So this particular philosopher comes to Rabban Gamliel and he says an interesting thing. It says that your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. He's jealous, so to speak, of the other deities in the world. Ki Hashem Elokecha eish oich lahu kel kana. He's a God that is jealous. The Torah says God is jealous of the concept, so to speak, of somebody worshipping another deity. If that's the case, why is he jealous and why does he do damage to those who serve the idolatry? Rather fight with the idolatry itself. Go for the actual Avodah Zarah. It says in your Torah, Ki Hashem Elokecha eish oich lahu kel kana. Your God, Hashem, is a consuming fire. He's a jealous God. Mipnei ma miskane b'yovdeho. Why is he jealous with those who worship the Avodah Zarah? V'ein miskane bo. He's not jealous of it itself. Let him attack the Avodah Zarah itself, not the people. Omer loi. So Rabban Gamliel answered him, I'll give you a parable. Let me give you a metaphor of why it is that Hashem goes for the worshippers more so than the deity than Avodah Zarah itself. Here's the parable. What do you compare this to? To a king of flesh and blood, who's got a son. He's got a son, and his son is a bit of a rebellious fellow. And this bicycle is raising a dog. And gives his dog the same name as his father. He's a rebellious guy. And so he wants to bring, shame and disrespect, rebelliousness on the king. So he names the dog the same name as the king. When he swears, the custom is you swear in the name of the king. The king is the important man. So by the king, by his majesty's name. So this guy swears making an oath, by the life of my father, the dog. So he's obviously a rebellious fellow. And now the king is very angry because this is a demonstration of insolence that he is in a rebellious way, comparing his father as synonymous to the dog, even swearing, taking oaths by that common name that he's using for his father and a dog. The king hears about it, he's angry. We're coming up for Purim soon with an angry Achashverosh. The king is angry. Al miyu koyes, who does the king get angry with? Al abenu koyes, al akelevu koyes. Does he get angry with the son or with the dog? Who's responsible? Yeah.
Stupid son.
The dog or the son?
Stupid son.
You would say al abenu koyes. What did the dog do? He's an animal. Just because the prince is using him to create an insult to the entire kingdom, he's being used in a terrible way. But he's an innocent dog. He didn't do anything wrong. He may not have even barked at the king. So, likewise, Rabban Gamliel says to this philosopher, you're saying that the people insult God by serving other deities. Then you're questioning me, why does God not take out his anger at the deities, at the idols that they worship, instead of the people? It's the people who are responsible, not the idols. The idols are matter, corporeal, material matter that God made in his world. You should have a taina to the sun, because some people decided that it's Avodah Zarah, or to the mountain, or to the idol, or the Asherah tree, or whatever it is. Have a taina to the wicked person that doesn't follow what the Torah says and goes and serves that thing instead. And likewise over here, the taina is to the son, the prince, not to the dog.
But he doesn't punish them also.
Sorry?
He doesn't punish anyone. Well, he doesn't punish anyone.
He doesn't punish anyone. Who says he doesn't punish anyone? I
God-
think the son will get punished.
Huh?
Maybe not immediate, but down the line he will get punished. Oh my Lord. So this philosopher says to Rabban Gamliel, the conversation's not over. You're calling this the idolatrous deities dogs? I don't agree with your comparison. You make a comparison, a metaphor. It's not always correct. No thanks. You're calling it a dog? But it has mamash. It's got something real to it. So he says to him, what did you see? What do you mean you believe the idols have power? Basically, what this fellow is saying to Rabban Gamliel, no, hold on a second. The idolatrous forces in the world, the idols that the people serve, etc., often they display some form of spiritual power. It might be a negative form of spiritual power, but they have some form of spiritual power. And therefore, you could understand God if he were to get so-called angry or insulted by them because they represent a form of power that is kvayochel, some form of competition to the holiness of Hashem himself. We say kvayochel. Sorry?
It's a power that he's provided.
He's provided it, but nonetheless, on a lower level, it exists. And Amalai says, for example, one time there was a fire in our city. The entire city burned down. And what didn't burn was the temple of Avodah Zarah. The temple of Avodah Zarah didn't burn, so the people said, hey, the Avodah Zarah's got power. Didn't burn. Everything else burnt, and that got saved. So at the end of the day, you want to say God only gets angry at the son and not the dog, because what's the dog got to do with anything? Avodah Zarah is not a dog. Avodah Zarah encompasses power. God should be fighting with the Avodah Zarah, not only the worshipper. So Rabban Gamliel says, I'll give you another parable. I'll tell you, let me give you another parable to understand your temple of some idolatrous deity that didn't get burnt. You know what happened there? What is this to be compared to? A city, a state, revolted against a mortal king. He was angry because the whole country rebelled against him. Because he came and he made a war. He made a war against this whole place that rebelled against him. Now you ask a question, you've got to pick your battles, as they say. Where does he point his artillery? Who's he fighting with? Does he punish the alive or the dead? He comes into the place and he's got a whole rebellious set of citizens over there. Some are alive and some are dead. For whatever reason, they've already died in the battle or they weren't well. Who's he going to wage his fight with? Those who are alive. Those who are dead, it's like they're dead anyway. You would say, so the war's against those that are alive. You come into battle, the rebels that have rebelled against you, and you are the king, who are you going to go for? You're going to go for those who are alive, not those who are dead. In others, Rabban Gamliel says to him, it's not a novelty, it's not a chiddush that temple survived, that idolatrous temple. God came into that city, and he burnt it down in his anger. What did he burn? Those live people that were rebelling against him. Those dead people, the deadness, the temple, the structures, the idols, there was no reason for him to fight with it. It's dead. It's inanimate.
Same principle with the dog.
Amalai, the philosopher says to Rabban Gamliel, he's still not buying it. You're trying to call the idolatrous deities dogs. You're trying to call the idolatrous deities dead. Either way, if that's the case, why doesn't God just destroy it? These are things that are causing him trouble. If you're talking about people who are rebelling against the supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, then why not destroy the thing that is causing them to, that's the Egel Azav, that's the golden statue or whatever that's causing the trouble, destroy it. You, God, have the power to destroy whatever you can and whatever you want. Why are you allowing these things that compete against you to be there in the first place? Amalai, Rabban Gamliel answered him, same as our Mishnah up there. If they were serving something that the world didn't require, he would destroy it. But your friends, these idolaters, are serving the sun and the moon. They're serving the stars and the constellations. The streams and the valleys. You want God to destroy his world because of the fools. And likewise it says, There's a place where it says, Asayf kol me'al panei ha'adam ne'um Hashem. Should I utterly consume everything off the face of the earth, says Hashem? Is that the answer? Asayf adam u'v'heimer, should I destroy man and beast? Asayf oif ha'shemayim u'degei hayom, should I destroy the fowl in heaven and the fish of the sea? V'hamachshelos esarashayim v'goyim, and all the stumbling blocks of the wicked. In other words, should I look around my world and anything that's dangerous I should take away? Because wicked people stumble with them, I should take them out the world. I should get rid of the cars because people sometimes misuse them. And I should get rid of whatever else it is that could be misused. They, at the end of the day, all these things, as a matter of fact, are subjugated by people. And even people, idol worshippers, sometimes worship other people. Should I now destroy humanity because some idol worshippers actually worship other people? So the Gemora says, Shal Agrippas Sartsova es Rabban Gamliel. Agrippas, who was a general, a known Roman general, asked Rabban Gamliel, Ksiv b'tziraschem, your Torah says, Ki Hashem Elokecha eish oichlahu kelkana. For Hashem your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. But let me ask you a question. Where does jealousy really take effect? When there's something to be jealous of. When there's a real power. What is God getting jealous over stone and wood and powerless entities in the world? What is getting him upset about it? You know who gets jealous? A wise man gets jealous of another wise man. A mighty man is jealous of another man. He respects might. So when he sees somebody who might be mighty, he gets jealous. If he's a wise man and he sees someone who might be a bigger chacham, he gets jealous. A wealthy man gets jealous of another wealthy man. But if the person is not anywhere near your league, doesn't have any similar power or whatever, nothing to be jealous of. So his question is, what is there in the world for God to be jealous of? Why does the Torah say that God, so to speak, gets jealous of the Avodah Zarah in the world? Amalai said, let me give you a parable to what this can be compared to. Difficult mashal because we don't know too many people that are married to more than one person. But he talks about a person that's married to more than one, and the wives can get jealous of each other. La'adam shenasa isha al ishta, he went and married another woman. Chashuva mimena ein miskana ba. If she's clearly more important, this is a type of thing in society we couldn't relate to too well. In today's day and age, certainly not. But if you marry somebody that's more important than the first person, she doesn't get jealous. It's okay. He was looking for a status upgrade. Less than her, miskana ba. Then she does get jealous because it's less. Amalei Zunin l'Rabbi Akiva. Somebody called Zunin said to Rabbi Akiva, Libi v'libach yadad avodah zarah leis b'mashasho. Your heart and my heart know that there's no substance to idol worship. We all know that idol worship is worth nothing. We see people that go in that direction, even if their limbs are broken, they go there to worship idol worship, but also kimetzamdi, and sometimes they come back whole. In other words, why do we, it's a question of confusion. Why do we see that sometimes people tend to go towards negative things and it seems to work? They come back and they say, well, it helped. I got cured, my timer. Amalai said, I'm going to tell you a mashal. To what can this be compared? So he gives him a mashal, he gives him a parable. There was a trustworthy man in the city. There was a man who had a reputation of being Mr. Integrity. Because he was such an honest man, so integral, that everybody utilized him if they needed to put something away. He was the safety deposit box of the city. People people even would place things by him without witnesses. You know, if you have any questions, you need to have witnesses, because what happens if the guy turns around and says, what are you talking about? You put your money here, you gave that to me to put away. Never happened. But because this man was so honest, people said you could even put your stuff there without any witnesses. But one man came along and said, no, my standard is, if I put something here, I must have witnesses. I'm not putting, don't mind that you have a reputation in the whole town that you don't need